Good evening. Coming to you live from my backyard here in Auburn. I am hopping on to chat with you guys real quick. Sorry, we've got Boy Scouts across the street, so you might hear random yelling. Coming on here to talk with you guys real quick about the property tax hikes here in Auburn and around the state, and specifically fill you in on one piece of that. So as always, if that is something that you think folks would like to hear about, please like and share this video, and let me know where you're tuning in from. I see Michael is hopping on, so say hi in the comments. Let me know where you're tuning in from and what you think about this issue, with the property tax increases around the state. We will dive right in. So if you are hopping on tonight, you might have seen that earlier today, good evening, Michael. Please join Michael in saying hello and let us know where you're tuning in from. And of course, like and share this video. Thank you so much. I posted this afternoon. I posted about Gil Kennard, who is a gentleman who is not in my district, but he's very district adjacent. He lives just in the next district over, and he called me yesterday, and he was, I think the appropriate word would be angry, maybe livid, really, really mad about his property tax increase here in Auburn. And so I stopped over at his house to hear his story, and he showed me what I posted today. He showed me this sign. So when Gil received his new property tax bill from Auburn, it was an increase of $1,600. Okay, so his taxes went up from $4,400 to $6,000. That is just an astronomical increase. And so Gil received this bill, and most folks receive their property tax bill. You know, we might mentally fume for a little bit, rage about it online, but then what are you going to do? And Gil marched himself down to the sign store. He went down to the sign store here in Auburn, and he printed up a sign, a 4x8 sign, and it says, "City of Auburn taxes, legal theft." That's what his sign says. It's a white background, red letters, big and bold, very clear, and it is now in his front yard. So that's what I posted about this afternoon. And so Gil is expressing his First Amendment right to speak out about this issue, right? And he is dealing with a property tax hike like so many are across Maine. But I wanted to hop on here tonight and talk about what is a little bit unique about Gil and others around the state. And that is that Gil last year had enjoyed the benefits of the senior property tax freeze. So here's the deal with that. During my first term, the legislature passed a bill. It was bipartisan. I think it went under the hammer in the House. I'd have to look back. To freeze seniors' property taxes. So essentially, when they applied for the property tax freeze with their town, their property taxes would then stay at that same level. And so Gil, when this legislation went into effect, he applied for the property tax freeze, and he received it. He was eligible, and so his taxes were frozen last year, okay? And so now he's getting this bill, and here's the reason that for Gil and so many seniors around Maine that this bill is so shocking. Because here's the thing. So in 2021 to 22, fiscal year 21-22, his taxes were $4,600, okay? In then 22-23, they actually dropped a little bit. His property taxes went down to $4,400. And at that point, the following year, which was fiscal year 23 to 24, Gil's taxes were frozen, and they were frozen at that $4,400. Okay, so his property taxes stayed at that $4,400 last year. So $4,600 and then $4,400, $4,400. And Gil, like so many other seniors around Maine, was anticipating that that law would stay in place and that his taxes would be frozen, and that as he is living on a limited income, and you know, his wife is sick. I'll be sharing some videos of Gil telling his story himself. His wife went through cancer. You know, they're dealing with the same things that many seniors are, right? A fixed income. And so to have his property taxes now go from $4,400 to $6,000 is a real shocker. And the reason it's a real shocker, Auburn property taxes going up, Minot property taxes going up, property taxes around the state are shocking to a lot of people because there's some really astronomical increases. But seniors are in a particularly shocking position here because Gil's taxes didn't go up last year like the rest of ours, right? So his taxes were frozen. And so while other people's taxes went up last year, and so this year's increase is kind of more incremental, it's a really shocking increase to seniors because it's going up for the past 2 years. And so as seniors around the state of Maine are getting their tax bills, it is particularly horrendous because they are dealing with 2 years of increase all at once because the property tax stabilization was repealed and those taxes are no longer frozen for seniors. So that's part of why I wanted to hop on here tonight and explain how it's particularly hard on our seniors. And so I will tell you that this is partially a story of shenanigans because that repeal of the property tax stabilization was done in a little bit of a sneaky way. It was passed in a budget. And if you've ever looked at a Maine budget, they're really, really long, hundreds of pages. And how could you possibly know everything in a budget or read everything or hear about everything in the news that's in a budget? And so it may have kind of gone somewhat unnoticed until the effect was felt right now. And so when that was put forward in a budget, it was then a very partisan vote. I voted against it. So I voted against the repeal of this law. And that's how it fell. It fell down party lines. Democrats, every Democrat in the House voted to repeal the property tax stabilization. They voted to repeal the property tax freeze for seniors. And that's just the facts. And it's really shocking to people now to see these bills because $1,600 on a fixed income is a lot of money. And you know, even he talked about his neighbor when I was over visiting, his neighbor, the woman next door or down the street, who her property taxes increased by $400. $400 is a lot of money when you are on a fixed income. That's not something where people can just snap their fingers and come up with an extra $400. So I wanted to get on here tonight and explain that particular piece for seniors, because yes, property taxes have gone up really astronomically for Mainers across the board. It's insane how much property taxes have gone up. Our incomes have not gone up, but the property taxes are going up so much. And I don't know how the folks in budget committees and city councils and, you know, who are running these budgets think that Maine people can afford this. It is not affordable. It is not sustainable. And these property taxes are being based on inflated prices. You know, if you're not looking to sell your house, what do you care if it's worth twice what it was when you bought it? You're just looking to live in it. And yet your property taxes are being based on these high inflated values when you're not actually going to be pulling anything out of it anytime soon. And that is not affordable. Just because you live in a house that you could sell for a lot more than you bought it, if you're not going to sell it, you don't suddenly just have more money to pay these taxes. So, Paul, that's a really good question. What can we do? Well, I will tell you, In this case, it's really very, very clear. We need to vote in folks in November who will conserve your money. And so that means vote for conservative candidates. And make sure that when you vote, you're not voting blind and just figuring out, you know, once you step into the ballot box, who you're voting for. Make sure you know, and you have talked to that candidate, and you know that they are conservative and that they are absolutely going to work really hard to get more of your money in your pocket, because you need the money a lot more than the state government does, and you need the money a lot more than municipal government does. You need your money in this current economy a lot more than any government in Maine needs your money. And so if we continue to allow Democrats to have full control of 3 chambers, just watch your taxes continue to go up. They will. It's up to Maine people. It's in your hands. You decide what we pay moving forward. You decide if our property taxes continue to increase. You decide if seniors are going to be taxed out of their homes, because that is what we're looking at here. We are looking at seniors being absolutely taxed out of their homes. And that's not like a maybe. That is people are going to be losing their homes over this. And so it truly is in your hands. It's in Maine people's hands. I am walking back to our fire. Sorry, I'm gonna have a little more light coming right up. I didn't realize how dark it was gonna get when I started my live. But a couple things I just want to emphasize. This is another example. You know, I talk about shenanigans. This is another example of a shenanigan where this was hidden in a budget, and so that it could just be passed and Maine people wouldn't take a lot of notice. And that's par for the course. That's par for the course. So now our seniors are suffering for it. And our seniors are suffering even more than your average Mainer, even though all of our taxes have gone up, because our seniors were counting on this. And now their taxes have gone up 2 years worth in just this past year. And that is a reckoning that most of them did not count on, and it is not something that they can afford. And so, yeah, it matters who you vote for this November. And it matters that we turn out conservatives who want to conserve your money, who want to conserve our resources here in our state. And so, absolutely, Paul is right on. You know, there is a good example of individual action here from Gil in his putting up of his sign and taking action in that way. Paul is saying we all need to go to the City of Auburn, Maine official council meetings and make our voices heard. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, government will get away with picking your pockets as much as they can until they think they can't anymore, and until we hold them accountable. And so every way that we can hold them accountable, we should be holding them accountable. And I think I have officially lost the light, you guys. So I'm going to sign off with that. But I thank you so much for tuning in. That is the explanation about the senior property tax freeze. Take action. What will you do? Will you help a conservative candidate win? Will you go down to the City of Auburn or wherever you live and make your voice heard, make your displeasure heard? Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. I will talk to you soon.